But what we will do is focus on the last two matches of the night. It's South Asia versus Southeast Asia. And to say that this could be a bloodbath...
This could be...
What could it be, Jake?
The greatest upset in Southeast Asian history.
Honestly, if Knock Knock go ahead and beat Bleed, this may well be the greatest upset in esports history. Guys, this roster has come into this stage, and unfortunately, despite personal performances not being too far off the mark, they've only been able to garner one victory, and that was, of course, against Hasib Warriors, the other South Asian team.
Hey, guys, settle down. This might not be the biggest clutch in esports history. They are in the playoff bracket at the moment, top 6 off the back of that result. Fortunately, they closed out before overtime, as we mentioned, really important. They get a full 3 points, and they're actually ahead on round diff against Daystar at the moment, assuming they don't get absolutely slammed in this game. So it's actually quite important in some ways that Knock Knock, even if they lose, don't get smashed in this game. They have 5 rounds ahead of Daystar at the moment, and there could be a world in which every round actually matters. So for Knock Knock, they need to take this very, very seriously. Obviously, no pressure on them to win, of course. They're versing the best team in the league, but they need to try and keep it competitive. And I think, honestly, they probably could if they throw a couple of things at Bleed that they're not expecting. So I wouldn't be too surprised if they can get a few rounds, minimize the deficit, and in doing so, keep them in good stead for the top 6.
It's very tough to say that sometimes a game is about minimizing the damage, Xenox, but unfortunately in this case it may well be. However, Knock Knock, you know, these stages are super important. These best of ones are really important for rosters like them, Hasib, Daystar, because we don't know if they're going to make it through to the best of 3 format. So they need to be able to take every game at face value, even if it's against a gigantic team in your way, like Bleed Esports. I mean, I'm actually gonna question you, Jake. Do you have anything negative to say about this roster?
Yeah, I actually do. I would say their conduct lately has been a little bit disappointing regarding certain events. I think as long as they can just keep themselves locked in mentally, stay focused on the games, because inside of the server, there is nothing negative. They're great. They're the best team at the moment. There's only one spot when it comes to getting a major position. They're the favorites for that spot. So you've just got to stay focused on the task at hand. Don't worry about, you know, exterior issues. These guys, though, I don't think are going to even come close to losing this game. This should be an absolute stomping 7-0, 7-1 kind of fashion. I say that even in the fact that, as we remember all the way back, Play-Doh 1, the last time Bleed played against the other South Asian team, they got completely bamboozled in those opening 4 rounds, made to look very silly. But we're at a point now in this stage, Rob, where I think those day one, not jitters, but day one cobwebs are gone, brushed off completely. And I think Bleed are going to be just far too good here for Knock Knock.
Well, I just don't see a world in which it's any other discussion. Maybe they come out of the gate swinging and Knock Knock and get a couple of rounds, but Bleed's adaptations mid-game, I'm sure, will very quickly just snuff that out. So we are not going
Chalet.
We are going...
Chalet.
Michael, help me.
Why? What's wrong with Chalet? Is it because we've seen it twice already? Is that why you're a bit...
Because this is the 3rd time tonight. It's just, you know, I just want to see a bit of variety, Michael. I
don't see the problem. It's fine by me. I don't have to cast it again, so I don't really care.
See, Xenox, doesn't he find the weirdest things to be mad about and the weirdest things to be happy about? Look at that smile on his face. I don't think I've ever seen a man so happy.
I enjoy the little things in life, Rob. That's what life is really all about at the end of the day.
Oh, you enjoy them little.
Oh, yeah, you're right. My KD is quite small.
Is Devin Mandy ready, Rob? I think they're ready.
But I think the game's ready, so I don't even know why you threw to me. Just give it to them, Rob.
We're not ready. We're not ready yet. Come on, boys. Leave the big hosting to the big boys that only like big things. Speaking of big things, James Devmartin Stewart.
No, we're going to do a big this game.
What an intro. I have never been introduced. It's only where I can live. Shout out any homies that watched Apex South and know that song and that reference. And those of you who don't, I guess you'll just have to enjoy some amazing matches. And Mandy, this could very well be one of the greatest upsets in history. Or it could be one of the fastest games we've ever seen.
I was going to say, could it really be one of the greatest upsets that we've ever seen? I think this is very unlikely. Like, very, very unlikely, Tiff.
All right. Do you want to like start to consider, you know, how many rounds do we reckon that Knock Knock should realistically grab against?
Well,
Bleed?
Hasib Warriors got 4.
Okay.
And then Knock Knock.
And they were the first 4.
Yes, and then
well.
Knock Knock beat Hasib Warriors, right?
So maybe more than 4. Hey.
So they should get 5.
Damn. Okay.
That's
a pretty big call.
That would be tremendously impressive.
It actually would.
Tremendously impressive. Yeah.
Unironically, would be massively impressive, considering how good Bleed are at the moment. But we have seen Bleed do start a little bit slow sometimes. So if there's any time for Knock Knock to spring into action, it's right at the start. They do start on the attacking side, for better or for worse. I do think in this case it is for worse. I just think even though Chalet attack can be quite potent, I think that you want to start on the comfort of defense. But let's be real, it's going to be a challenge no matter what. And if you think we're ragging on Knock Knock, it's because we don't. It's not because we don't like them. Sorry, it's not because we don't like them, or it's simply they are just like going up. It's a David and Goliath matchup. Like this would be like, I don't know, Furia, you know, the old W7M world champions versus like a team that is significantly below their caliber. And we do see upsets like that happen. But you just have to remember the significance of that. And the significance of this match for Bleed is just getting as many points as possible, staying undefeated, staying at the top. For Knock Knock, the pressure is really just on getting as many rounds as possible to, as Guz said, extend that round difference that they currently have as a lead over Daystar.
Yep, I think that's the main thing. If at least one of the South Asian teams is going to make it into playoffs, it is going to be Knock Knock between the two of them, of course, with the points difference that they ended up getting, taking all 3 just last night. So I think, like you pointed out, for these guys, it's just trying to close out as many as they possibly can. At some point, hopefully later on in the stage, if they can steal a win over someone, it'll give them an opportunity to be in that 6th place spot. And that is, I think, ultimately a big goal for, I suppose, the entire sub-region of South Asia.
Very much so. All right, well, digging into this one, Mandy, we've seen another Grim ban come out. It happens every now and then, funnily enough. We actually saw Knock Knock ban Grim against Elevate as well on Oregon. Unfortunately, they only got the 1 round in that game. We've seen Bleed ban this Ying. Actually, not much recently, but it is often banned against them. Yeah, I don't know. I think that there's not much stake to be putting in operator bans here. Oh, wow, this is nasty from third. Is anyone going to jump up on... Is anyone actually... No, it doesn't look like anyone is going to go on the helipad, so he won't find that early pick, but it really shows the pace that Bleed are going to go for in this game when you see something like that.
I think Sandy knows what's going on a little bit and is keeping his eyes on some of these double windows, making sure he doesn't get spawn peeked too early. I think library has been fully vacated now, with Turd moving his way down to Ivy stairs, so Sandy will be safe on his entry for a little bit, but it looks like the rest of his team are shaping up for a solo-sided push. Envy on the Hibana is going to look to try and open up this wall, but before he can do that, they've got to dislodge the player just in the corner of that solo balcony.
It's not easy to dislodge players like Hoven. He's got some support from his key, but is Mentos going to peek that? Wow, okay, Sandy has gone down!
Ow.
2 players peeking the Kali. Now, Hoven takes a bit of damage and the floor below him is exposed, but now he doesn't have to worry about that Kali covering off his bathroom window, and also the Solus is getting so much info on where these air jabs are, where is and is not safe to go for a potential run out or flank.
I actually had no idea where Reeps was for that peek, but he somehow manages to find the one onto the Kali. So here goes Hoven on the re-peek in through bathroom. Does get taken down, but Mentos is there for the trade. There's a player on the rappel though, so he's got to be a little more cautious on the retreat. Don't think he can quite finish off that kill with the danger of the rappel player, but Reeps is going to do that regardless. Player from down below, he does get spotted out through the vertical. A couple shots go through the down and will confirm the kill onto B. 2 versus 4 in favor of Bleed. Make that 1 versus 4 for Reeps. 3 kills on the round. Just Envy all on his own.
Yeah, and he's getting run out on as well. Here's the Solus. Oh, he's playing on the pillar just to toy with him. He is simply toying with him and baiting for Reaps, who secures the 3K in the round. Utter confidence exuded from these Bleed players. They continued to push to pick. They showed no respect whatsoever. And they said, we will win these gunfights. They kept on pushing, and Knock Knock really struggled to deal with that aggression.
I really liked the way that they were able to double peek out onto the long angle from the Kali, cutting off the bathroom player. I thought, I've actually never seen that before. I don't know about you, Dev, but that's a pretty commonly played cutoff these days. And having a counter like that, I think, is pretty important. I think can be applied to a lot of teams that would play that solo-sided take strategy. And then off the back of that as well, very much playing together on their swings and enabling each other to go for those picks and play the aggressive game. Feeling confident, fair enough, when you're playing against Knock Knock, and yeah, they make it work.
Ah. Hoven here, you can see like he had no respect. He just kept peeking, and then Mentalist did the same thing. Reaps retook the position, and like even here, just contesting the vertical angle, like those holes could easily have worked in favor of the defense, and he finds 2 kills through it, and then obviously they all run out on the last player. That is just pure confidence. Bleed, I think starting on defense is a nice little buffer for them. Even though attack is great, it just means that they can set the pace instead of like, waiting for Knock Knock to decide how they want to play these rounds.
I think so, and just to say like a bit more of a nitpicky thing off the back of that vertical comment that you made, you know, vertical is more of a two-way challenge than I think that people think, to be honest, in Rainbow Six. That might be a hot take from me, but like honestly,
I think you're right.
I in my opinion, that when you make vertical, it's not always necessarily attacker-sided, right? Especially, you know, on certain areas of the maps, and I think that finding the opportunity to contest vertical when you can, and choosing when it's important for you to be looking down some of those holes, or looking up, depending on what the bomb site is actually quite important. And I don't think it's just that in competitive play, but you can also apply it to rank, to wherever, really. It's just like a bit of a game sense thing. And yeah, I think people don't realize just how two-way of a fight vertical can be sometimes.
Already an early pick here for Knock Knock, which is nice for them, but they got the early... What is this from Rattler? He's playing Blitz and... Okay, very strange. So you're deciding to put your Blitz on the flank / rotation watch. Very ambitious. So I think Knock Knock have some kind of spicy idea here. The Blitz presumably going to go through Trench. There's a player here in West Main that they'll need to clear out. 3 players here, so they're posturing for some kind of rush, but what's funny here is like the Solus is going to know about it, and Mentalist's wall is completely solid. Bleed are in a really solid position, but they perfectly bait out the kill. Well played from Envy, and now numbers advantage is squarely in Knock Knock's favor.
Hey, this is not a bad position for Knock Knock, honestly. They've really got this backside taken, and getting the kill as well on the player rotating in through Pillar. That's a great spot to be in. Once this wall gets open, if they can capitalize on this opportunity, that would be great. But speaking of, Hoven with a massive 2K with the C4 and is able to get away with his life.
Wow. Okay, this could flip here. This would be a devastating round for Knock Knock to lose. From a 3-player advantage, Turd's in a great position. The Blitz is down. There's less util to worry about now for Bleed, as Knock Knock have lost a lot, but Sanny's in a great position above. He's got the vertical angles. He has smokes to enable some kind of plan as well, but Turd's in a really solid spot. There will be no solid plant denial here. Hoven's going to have to take this fight, but if he wins it, the plant should be denied! Hoven with the 4K Sandy off in Narnia, nowhere to support his team. A 2 versus 5, establishing dominance for Bleed.
Oh man, that was such an unfortunate round there for Knock Knock. They really had the opportunity to try and make that one work, but Hoven managing to sneak his way back in to behind the pillar and then landing that double C4, somehow being able to deny the plant even though the crossfire was there. It was just, wow, massive round there from Hoven. 4 kills, and yeah, it all fell apart towards the end there for Knock Knock, even though they were off to such a good start.
Oh, it's a round like that that's a huge red flag, Mandy. A terrifying one for Knock Knock. They did so many things right. They got a lot of early picks, and yet they just could not convert to save their lives. And credit to Bleed, like huge playmaking, particularly from Hoven, as you said, but it does make you scared for, you know, what else Bleed is capable of. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how to console that round, Mandy. It's really tough. And what's worse is that like a round like that is really going to hit the confidence for Knock Knock, and it's just going to start like overthinking, you know, and maybe finger pointing. I really hope for their sake that there isn't a lot of that going on right now, but it doesn't take much to be like, hey man, why weren't you covering me here? Or bro, you have to win that fight, or why are you rotating to blue? And then just you're arguing about a round that's already gone, and you need to just start moving up and shaping up for the next one instead.
I've got no idea what the team comms are like, or the team culture, probably better phrased there for Knock Knock, but you know, hopefully they can stay competitive in this one and composed. It's pretty tough when I think you're playing against a Bleed who, yeah, I don't know, is just playing really frontline here and being really unafraid. That can be quite a difficult force to go and deal with and play the cautious game against. But yeah, I mean, hopefully, even though they've lost those last 2 rounds, they can look on a bit of a positive from that last round. That was a pretty winnable situation that they were in, and hopefully if they can put themselves back in that, they'll have a chance at this round.
Slowing down the pace may be a part of that. Making sure that they dot their I's, cross their T's, punish aggression as much as possible, because Bleed have shown an interest in playing aggressively. They have shown that occasionally they will make mistakes and give opportunities for Knock Knock to find early picks. Wow, what a C4 on! It lands perfectly from Mentalist. That is phenomenal start there for Bleed, and fortunately the Capitao being one of the key elements for this execute has been thwarted so early.
Bleed have got a lot of small tricks up their sleeve, especially early on, that are really catching up Knock Knock. I cast my mind back to that first round where they managed to land the double run out onto the single player that was playing the cutoff, and even just then having a nice C4 lineup that Rattler probably didn't expect is one way to get the advantage early on in the round without even taking a gunfight.
So tempted to go for an execute. Okay, Jiri has now jumped in. He's destroyed this mirror window. He doesn't know there's nobody behind it. This is the site, by the way, and Mentalist is caught lacking. So this is an opportunity now, but Sandy has gone down. The question is, will Bleed overextend and feed into picks, or will they just play the win condition well? Oh, Reaps has taken a huge chunk of damage. Jittery is deep in sight. But Bleed, the Sharks are circling. What a shot! We find another one. The stuns in pocket will not be utilized, but Invi's recovery comes round the corner. Reaps now in a 1v2. These 2 players somewhat separated. Oh, but Beats got him dead to rights. Solid stuff from Knock Knock. The 7-0 is not going to happen. In fact, only 3 rounds in and they're already fighting back.
Honestly, great round from Knock Knock. Yeah, they lost the pick early on, but Jittery able to find the entry into the bomb site, realizing that there was no one behind that mirror window, and using the Hibana charges opportunistically to make his way in, take down a player that wasn't even looking at him, forced Bleed to go for the retake. But while they were going for the retake, the rest of the Knock Knock players were ready there from the cutoff. We could see Invi all the way on the other side of the map, entering into jungle just as all the other players were making their way into the bomb site for the defense, and yeah, ultimately put Reeves in a really tough position there on the retake, 2 versus 1. Really well played from Knock Knock, and you know, they were all on the same page. It was well coordinated as soon as that was go time to get in the bomb site.
I'd like to see more of that from Knock Knock. It does take a little... Yeah, it was. It does take a little bit of complacency from Bleed to allow that to happen.
This is quite the free cam. Sorry. Go on.
You're getting excited?
It's like...
You want to get back on the ob sticks, don't you?
I do. But like that free cam, it's like that scene from Interstellar where he's like matching the spin velocity when they, like, you know, that was so cool. Anyway, sorry. You're talking point.
No, I'll say shout out to Cthulhu on the free cam and Sky on the main obs as well. Doing a killing job, as always. Especially as it's whatever o'clock in the morning for Cthulhu. But my point was that like Bleed, yeah. So like, you know, Mentalist was the site player, and he probably should have realized that someone was jumping in, and he didn't, and he was caught looking the other way. That was what enabled Knock Knock to have a chance in that round. So I think Bleed will. They frankly were playing with a bit of disrespect. So I think that they just need to shape up a little bit, like keep up the level of aggression, but maybe just don't get a little bit complacent, because if Knock Knock see like a path of least resistance, they will try to take it.
Alright, so here's Reaps here in the display hallway, just preventing Library from being a safe haven for the attack with this long line of sight all the way deep into the corner of Library. Envy from down below is going to take down Aspie early on from inside of West Main. That's early advantage once again on the side of Knock Knock.
We've seen man advantages not be converted though this game. I think I'm going to say every round so far, if I'm not wrong. The team that got the opening kill has actually lost the round. So wouldn't count out Bleed yet. Yeah, because in the first round it was the guy who got the pick and solo for Knock Knock. The second round Knock Knock had a 5v2. And the third round Mentalist got the opening with a C4 and now we'll see if Envy's opening kill can be converted.
You are not wrong. That is interesting. Well, luck is not on their side, hey? The universe has gone against them and the Siege gods have looked down unfavorably on them. So, because they've gotten the first pick, this would, you know, if it tells the tale, not go their way. And there goes Jittery, down but not out, as Hoven goes for the peek out on the office wall, which has been pretty aggressively opened in the setup that they've got going for them. Knock Knock kind of stagnating out a little bit, I think, on this attack. They look a bit lost on where they want to go.
I do have a feeling that maybe they're wondering, or maybe they're overthinking, like, we can't lose our numbers advantage. We have an advantage, just convert the advantage. But so many aggressive lines of sight taken by Bleed. Even here, right? Like, look at all these players, but they are starting to punish, so that's really good. Oh, good reply, though, from Reaps. Very quick 180 and a shot into the player double window. Now, Knock Knock have to decide how they're going to shape up this execute. Will they rotate another player onto double window? Will they rotate someone onto piano window? The castle barricade needs to be destroyed. How will they enable a plant? 20 seconds. All of these players forming from the same direction. And that means these linear gunfights may spell the round. Turd finds his first on this long angle, looking for another one. Reaps gets his on a double! This guy is unstoppable. Turd to make it a full house for Bleed. The trend continues. The opening pick will not be converted.
Oh man, the Siege Gods have really done a doozy here on this matchup. That is not good for Knock Knock once again. Numbers advantage for not able to convert it. I guess you could say the same for Bleed with the one round that they've lost out as well. But yeah, I think Knock Knock just looks pretty lost, to be honest, in the mid-rounds of that attack. They got the opening pick, but from there on out, there was like 2 players over on Solar, 3 players over on Library side. It looks like they were going for a sweep, but some of the players weren't really ready for that. And then by the time that all 5 players were actually ready to make the execute happen into the bomb site because they'd all rendezvoused over on that Library side, there was only 20 seconds left to go. Bleed had the read on what was going on, and then this massive flurry of picks happened.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that there's not time nor a call from Knock Knock to go and rotate someone to a different position. You know, the castle barricade on piano was still closed. I don't think the bathroom window was open, so there's just no pressure. And Bleed could just train all their guns in one direction. And they got good guns and good gun skill. So, gonna win those. Fortunate for Knock Knock. They really should be aiming for like 3 attacks, I'd say. 2, 3 attacks. Like we said, obviously, expectations are not crazy for them. Like, any amount of pressure they can put on Bleed this game is great. Every round they can get will help their campaign, because there's a decent chance that Knock Knock and Daystar end up on the same number of points, fighting for the 6th place, fighting to get that playoff spot. The round difference means the world.
Alright, here we go. Double hard breach combination on the side of Knock Knock does indicate to me that they are looking to get this wall open nice and early. Mavtrick seems to be the play to get this back one open in Snowmobile. Cade is on the other side, of course, can be a little tricky to land. But maybe EMPs, but C4 through the Maverick holds for Hoven. Could have been close, but doesn't quite sink onto any attackers on the other side. A second one as well. Oh! That one does sink for Mentalist. Not only getting a player, but downing someone else as well. Great early advantage once again for Bleed. But Dev, are they cursed now?
Well, you do make a solid point. The team that wins the opening engagement seems to lose the round. But, who knows? Jittery's found his pick. Very nice angle as well. I don't know how he landed that shot. Rattler is going to go and res Envy. So something now to cook with. It is absolutely on Bleed here if they lose this. There you go. So big pick back. Realistically, this should not be a knock-knock round. They've lost their Thermite, they've lost their Maverick. That's the 2 hard breaches. And not a single wall has been opened. I don't think that he'd open Trench yet. So yeah, it should be a done deal.
Ooh.
Oh!
Nice shots there from Hoven. And yeah, Knock Knock, this is probably the round that I would say they've looked the worst in so far, both in terms of progression and decision making, I think. You know, struggling with the main wall and then sending the Thermite in solo in the back and nothing coming of it, and then leaving the rest of the players with the wrong utility to do anything on the map. And now you've got players running out on you and Rattler's on the roof. It's looking like this is the most abysmal round we've seen from Knock Knock for sure.
Started with that double C4. First one missed, second one landed. It was a red flag that the first one even managed to detonate. Like, really, you need someone to be watching the Maverick holes and ready to shoot a C4 as it comes out. We saw a really nice C4 shot. It was actually a spawn peak C4 that was shot last game out the solar window. You really need to be doing that for the Maverick. Like, being a Maverick is one of the most terrifying things. There's so many ways you can die, so many ways you can be killed, and you just have very little to no support. Look at this. Can we have a look at what this line of sight is? Mentalist is trying to cook up. Is it onto the main door? Oh, Rattler has also moved.
The other thing about... Sorry, I'm kind of writing this round off a bit early. But the other thing that... Oh, okay, never mind. Should I be writing this one off? Okay, yeah.
No, write it off, Mandy.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
Fine.
Okay, the other thing about the Maverick thing that you've been going on about, right, is that with the introduction of the pre-visualization of the trajectory, it's now even more dangerous than it was before. Yeah. To be a Maverick on a wall, because landing that C4 through the Maverick holes has just become like 10 times easier because the defenders can see exactly where their C4 is going. Beforehand, it required a bit of like finesse on the other side of the defense to actually be able to like land the C4 through the holes. You know, we can see that like bottom clubhouse, main, you don't really need to line up for that anymore. You can just stand there and when you're, you know, when the little pre-visualization goes through, then you throw it, right? But, you know, as a Maverick now, even having someone there to support you to try and shoot that C4 is suddenly a much harder job than it was before.
Yeah, and what's more, this a couple seasons ago they changed this, but it used to be that the electrification would destroy defender gadgets like C4s. So you had to be extra careful when you toss your C4. Yeah. If it hits the electrification, it's going to break anyway. So you'd see people like shoot the battery, then toss the C4. Now it doesn't matter. Like a C4 could land on the electrified part and still blow. So yeah, it's just like Maverick's worst nightmare is C4s. And yeah, I used to play a lot of Maverick back when he had nades, and he's such an amazing and fun operator to play, but also absolutely terrifying. Knock Knock have taken their tactical timeout for the final round of the half, Mandy. It's a huge gamble to do it now because in theory, if you're talking strat, you're talking game plan, you're only getting value out of it for this round. I've heard a lot of teams be critical of teams that take tactical timeouts in the final round of a half, but I actually think it is absolutely essential right now. Knock Knock need 2 rounds of attack, and what's more, if they lose this round, they're going to be so dejected moving into the second half. So I think that they need to throw everything that they have got at this round, and then just say, oh, 2-4 is actually not that bad, let's move on to our defense.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Knock Knock should be taking this one round by rounds, and especially on the opportunity of the last attacking round. Chalet can lean itself into being attacker favored, I suppose, depending on the way that the bans have gone and you know, the play style of each team. But, you know, if there's any map that you want to achieve an attack on, it's probably going to be this one. Last time around, we saw Knock Knock actually win out this bomb site, if I'm not wrong, Dev, because of Jittery being able to creep his way on into the bomb site, and then they forced a retake situation. So, you know, if they can pull another round like that out of the hat, that could be pretty good.
Theory, this is Bleed's tertiary bomb site. Oh man, is Turd trying to bait them? You didn't even reinforce that wall where usually you'd put the mirror. Turd does find the opening pick on a player placing down a claymore. Oh, sorry, no, I completely misread that. There is a mirror there and a reinforcement. The Ash Charge was simply to destroy the mirror. Unfortunately, the mirror is now broken, but yeah, Bleed certainly happy with that early exchange.
Yeah, and once again, Bleed just doing something cheeky to find the first pick of the round. We've seen them do this a couple times on the attack already, and just playing in an off position like that from Turd and popping his head up as that Claymore is going down. It's just a really odd thing, and Knock Knock not quite expecting something like that to happen. Another C4 lineup as well for Mentalist. This guy has got C4 lineups for days out into the double window. Sandy as well claiming his cutoff will at least bring one back for Knock Knock, but still not the most favorable position to be in.
Not at all. And yet Mentalist has gotten the opening pick, or technically it wasn't the opening pick this round, but he's got a C4 kill at the start of both of these bar rounds. There was actually a jump in there, baiting there for a second for Jittery. Rattler's just solo entering into a crossfire, mate. That is almost never going to pan out for you. Knock Knock have lost the numbers advantage, and I reckon they've lost almost all hope of winning this round. A consolation kill for Sandy, but 1v3 in the pivotal round after taking their tactical timeout. From here on out, is there any hope?
Oh dear.
He's jumped straight into a frost map. They may have even heard it. He's now, yeah, he's going to get one tap. So I love that. For Bleed, let's see this. Can we see this?
Bang!
Yeah! Man, this is a dominating game. And it's heartbreaking to watch for Knock Knock.
Yeah, it's quite... I don't know, it's quite sad, Dev. It's just... Yeah, Bleed looks so comfortable. Like, so comfortable that it's pretty worrying, I think, in this matchup. Knock Knock, I think once they lose, they edge in the round, like the numbers advantage, like a particular position or like playmaking opportunity. It all kind of falls apart from there, and yeah, I don't know, Bleed just really look in control, and I don't want to overanalyze it any more than that, to be honest. They just look like they're on another level at the moment, and I don't really see a world in which Knock Knock can match this, to be honest. They look really good.
They're insane. They're very confident, but yeah, with Knock Knock, do I have permission to overanalyze for Knock Knock?
Yes, you do.
All right. So, you know when you're down a player or you're at some kind of disadvantage and you feel like you have to take a risk in order to like get yourself back in?
Yes.
Oh, if this is like a 50% chance of working, but if it does, it increases our chance of winning by like 80%, then I should do it.
Yeah.
And that's what I thought of. I think it was Rattler who was the one pushing in from the top floor. He was like soloed the entire top floor setup, entering display, trying to take 2 gunfights at once by throwing 1 loose frag grenade. Stuff like that. Like, it's an objective bad play, and I'm sure that he knows that it was like a highly risky play. But if he had got 1 or both of those kills, then he could have unlocked the round. Envy does find a low percentage play kill though, and hey, I encourage it, especially on the defense. The thing is now, I really want Knock Knock to try and play consolidation. Because here, if Rattler overpeaks and dies, then the advantage has been forfeited.
That was quite scary on the rotation out. I think Rattler is now stuck because Turd is here on the cutoff as well. And yep, he is stuck between a rock and a hard place. Reaps is on the other side of this. Oh, hang on a moment. Turd has been taken down from a flank down the bottom main. Okay. Rattler finally does go down, but there are 2 players ready to take this fight onto Reaps.
Yeah, and Bleed actually... Oh, wait. Another defender went back in. Sandy has gone and retaken Wine Cellar and found Reaps. Now, Aspie's looking to hunt him down, and he will. What the hell is going on in this round? I would love to know. Somehow Knock Knock have fragged their way to a numbers advantage. I believe the Solars must have dropped the dining hatch from sight. And Bleed now, believe it or not, are actually at a disadvantage. Jittery is still peeking. This guy still wants more.
And Aspie got his first kill. Yes, let's go.
Aspie was on a doughy, was he?
Yes, he was. Anyway, Knock Knock, this could be their round. This could be the one. All right, here we go. It's Aspie. He's going his way through cabinets or through display. I've forgotten call-outs already. But Mentalist has just killed Jittery. Jittery, mate, what are you doing? You've got the numbers advantage and he's standing on the office wall sticking his head in there. That is not good. Now you've just got yourself into a 2 versus 2 rather than having a 3 versus 2. They don't really have this crossfire's fundamentals down too well, do they, Dev? Anyway, alas, here we go. Situationally, it could go either way now between these 2 teams. They can't quite get this wall open because there's something blocking it on the other side. It's a mute jammer. That should be dealt with pretty easily from down below. Aspie's going to make some vertical to try and land that one. C4 does stick to the roof. Doesn't quite sail on through, but Aspie shoots it out anyway. Still opportunity here for Bleed, especially since there's only 1 on the bomb site at the moment. Never mind, B has just rotated back up to support his teammate. But yeah, unfortunately for them, that mute jammer not going down. But it doesn't matter, because Mentalist can land a good shot.
Yeah, and Bleed simply collapse in the 2v3. A lot of 1v1s, no crossfires held by Knock Knock. Make it very difficult to overcome that advantage that they had established for themselves. Look, I respect the idea from Knock Knock. They're just going absolute balls to the wall, full fragging, drop the hatch, like keep re-aggressing, keep going, keep going, keep going. Even though it only barely works, like a 3v2 after that. But yeah, you really need to play your 3v2s correctly, and just way too many overpeaks for Knock Knock the thing about, like, it's not... Playing aggressively is not inherently bad, right? Like, it's just about knowing when to play aggressively and when to play passively. And when to switch it up. And if you always play aggressively, you're actually an incredibly easy team to read, just as much as if you always play passively. You have to change it based on the odds, essentially.
Yeah, and you could argue that there's like a difference between good and bad aggression as well, right? Like, you know, you think about Bleed and their MO is that they're quite a frontline heavy team. But the reason why that works is because all their players are so on the same page with looking for early advantages and playing together and off each other. Like, you think about Bleed on their defending half, and yes, they were taking all these early engagements and they were picking their battles just as Knock are trying to do on their defending half, but they're doing it in 2s, or they're doing it in 3s, or they're doing it, you know, off the back of a C4 or off some Azami setup or like something like that, right? So I think, you know, for Knock, their aggression just isn't that calculated or planned out.
Yeah.
Whereas I think for Bleed, their aggression is very calculated and very thought out, and it's a big difference.
I think a good example of that, Mandy, would be Turdster like proning underneath the game's window and then jumping out.
Yeah.
Oh, not jumping out, but like popping his head up when the Claymore got put down. Like, extremely calculated. Like, he knows exactly what he's going for before he even goes and moves into the position to make the play. I'd even say the same of Envy spawn picking last round. I think that was like a good play, a fair play. If he died there, then that's unfortunate, but all of the action that went down in Wine Cellar last round, all that did was strip away two players from both teams. It didn't actually give either team necessarily an advantage. It just was a simple exchange. Here we go, another opening pick for Knock. And yes, Sandy's still peeking here. Yeah, this is where I think they just need to look to try and consolidate the position.
I would have to agree with you quite heavily. And you know,
don't keep peeking.
Yes, leave. You're good here. Oh, well, I guess you can't leave now because you're getting cut off. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's quite frustrating to watch, hey? And Bleed, even though they did lose the first pick out, are now just playing the cautious game, playing the windows of Chalet, like leading into the architecture, and they're doing all right for it. Jittery is going to get one onto Aspie, who's just jumped in through the window. 2 or 3 cap cannon traps there, but, you know, still, actually, somehow, this is a good spot for Knock.
Unless if Hoven gets into sight. High damage weapon. He has been taken down. Knock again. Coming back into it, but once again caught out of position as Jittery Turdster V2. For the map. Very close there, but Envy lands his shots. Knock recompose. It was another sketchy round. I'm gonna be honest, we're not seeing a lot of energy from their face cams as well. Quite the polar opposite to Bleed. Like, Bleed really don't care. They're having a laugh after they just lost that round. Knock in contrast, like, they finally got their second round on the board, and you'd barely notice it by looking at the faces on the cams. We need to see some energy rise up, and while I do like that, you know, a couple of gunfights slipped their way, I want to see more calculation in this aggression.
I'm inclined to agree with you, Dev. I feel like, yeah, to be honest, I don't quite know how they managed to slip that one away. But I suppose just winning out some of the gunfights when Bleed tried to convert that one into the bomb site after finding that few picks on the top floor. But yeah, I think overall, in general, Bleed probably not taking that round as seriously as they maybe wanted to or needed to win that one out. But that's all right. They've got about, you know, plenty more match points to make those kind of mistakes. And for Knock, I'm hoping to see a little bit more coordination, or at least an attempt for it. Oh dear.
Okay.
10
seconds to go. Okay. Oh, cool. We can see Envy's POV. Mentalist is having a bit of a laugh. I do wonder, Manny, like, why is Reaps... So, obviously, playing with in-ears, and presumably he's got the over-ears, he's, like, testing... Oh, no, is that just for the microphone?
Yes. That's my understanding. What's going on there?
I thought he was doing, like, the old... like, practicing for LAN, where you got to use the in-ears and then the over-ear headsets over the top.
I mean, they're all doing that.
Should do.
Yeah.
Well, they're all playing with in-ears, but not many of them are playing with over-ears over the top.
I agree with you as well. I think for these international teams, especially coming back and then, you know, playing around with the audio and trying to replicate what you would hear on LAN, you know, I think in general, a lot of the players that play on LAN do come back and they share just how difficult it is to hear things once you're in that LAN environment. And I think, you know, going back home and then like preparing yourself for that by playing with in-ears is pretty important, even though it's generally not as good.
Yeah, very much so. Well, for Knock Knock, they are trailing by 4 rounds, 4 match points against them. And we will go to a very quick break while we get everyone back into the lobby. Hello and welcome back to the game. It's Devin Mandy. How are you going?
What on earth was that?
What on earth was that?
What on earth was that? Why have we become? I didn't even know what we've become.
Fancy.
Fancy.
I just feel fancy right now, Mandy,
Really?
because we've been treated to such a delectable delight in ladies.
Delightfully devilish.
Did you just make a steamed hands reference?
Yup.
I really hope people got that. I really hope people got that.
All right.
You got that,
yeah.
you're a real one.
We're in Knock Knock versus Bleed. Bleed look like they're about to win, potentially.
Oh yeah.
Unless Knock Knock have something to do or something to say about it. They did last round, so hopefully they do this round as well.
Yeah, I've noticed this team, they do like having things to say. This team right here. And so I would not put it past them to have more words. But yeah, Bleed are pretty damn good at this game. And Knock Knock are all right. Like, credit to them. They've had a couple of rounds that they've stolen away. They've had a couple of cheeky ones. But they've also had their fair share of moments where things just didn't look quite great. And yeah, so 30 seconds in the round, I don't think we're going to be able to rehost this one. But Mandy, what was the trend that we saw in the first half? Almost every round, the team that got the opening pick lost the round. So I would not be surprised if Bleed can win this from a 4v5.
Alright, yes, the Siege gods have looked favourably upon them. Happy with their sacrifice, surely they'll be able to convert the round. Here goes Turd from outside of the piano window. He's not going to quite find anyone just yet. Sandy being a bit aggressive here on the office quad wall setup that they've got going for them. Now, Hoven was previously tracking, I believe, the player inside of the ground floor. So I think they know where he's gone. Okay, never mind. It's the Frost now. I've got no idea where Envy is. Oh, yeah, he is in the basement. So they're making sure they can at least isolate this single roamer down here, see if they can find this pick, but never mind. It doesn't look like they're going to commit themselves to doing this as Envy's able to fall off.
Interesting, they're not even trying to hunt him, really. He's actually putting the pressure upstairs. Mentalist is looking to take the top floor. He's spotted a mirror, he's spotted a player, and here you go. Big kill from Jittery. Reaps has gone down. And another big one as well for Sandy. 2v5.
Oh my God.
Good work from the Monty to find one, but he's not going to find his second. It seems like another throwaway round for Bleed as Asfi has DC'd and the rest of the team has fallen with very little consolation. A great keeper there is going to make this difficult. Hoven's looking a bit hopeless. Quick reload here, and oh, that's a nice pick. Will there be a trade coming through very quickly here for Knock Knock? Yeah, anything's possible for the game. Opens up a hole in the wall next to him. Is the mirror going to see him? Another kill for Hoven. Surely not like this. No, only 2 more to go. He spots out the player for a second, but Rattler does get him. The dream has been put to rest. And Knock Knock, yeah, they are still alive, and they've found 3 rounds in the game so far.
That was exciting, but Knock Knock won. So the sacrifice was unfortunately in vain of Asfi. The gods were not happy with that one, and instead, Knock Knock got the round. That was pretty impressive there in the top floor. It looked like Bleed, wanted to use the back of the Monty to go and find some picks off the back of there, but then they ended up pushing straight into a mirror window, and yeah, they essentially got slaughtered with the setup that was going on there, not quite respecting all the utility that was in place. So well played from Knock Knock to be able to use what was theirs and win out some good fights.
Gotta have respect, that we know well. So we're still waiting on the call or whether a rehost is needed, or perhaps a substitution is needed. Of course, Asfi is just in this tech pause at the moment, trying to get back into the game. I don't know whether to have faith or not, Mandy. But hey, who knows? Like, if we played enough rounds, maybe there's a chance that Bleed could win a 4v5 anyway.
You know what? What was I saying, Harry, at the start? Knock Knock beat Hasib Warriors. Hasib Warriors got 4 rounds on Bleed. So in theory, Knock Knock can get more than 4 rounds against Bleed, right? That's how logic works, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. In theory, potentially. Yeah. I could see
you
that.
never know. Maybe these guys are crazy. They turned it up.
Fury also 7-0'd Elevate, and I don't think that that's going to translate into Fury 7-0ing anyone that's beaten that Elevator beaten. So yeah, it is hard to draw parallels like that. At the end of the day, you are only as good as you are on the day in which the game is played.
Damn, you really had to be realistic and have the voice of reason there.
Me, the voice of reason?
Oh,
wrong.
Who would have thought that?
Usually I'm just doing weird fancy intros and getting delirious.
Being Delulu is sometimes the Salulu.
It's so wise of you.
Especially in moments like this, you know, full of wisdom.
Yeah, I mean, I think that for Bleed, perhaps a bit of getting Delulu could work in their favor in a 4v5. We got Asfi's PC up, like his camera's working. He's looking very pretty. He's wearing his jersey. He's looking lovely. Got his big old microphone.
Hooray!
He's back in. Question is he in the lobby? How long until he can get to the lobby?
I believe.
Drum roll,
Buttons are being
please.
clicked. I don't know how to do a drum roll like, you know, verbally.
Can you hear me on the desk right now? Is that coming?
Oh,
through the
I can
microphone?
hear you on the desk actually. That sounds very strange,
like that.
actually. That didn't quite like make the sound that I think was intended there.
Doing a bit of a drum roll on my mouse pad with a trick sometimes. I actually do have a drum next to me, believe it or not.
But your drum is like electric, right? So you can't actually do a...
I could plug it
real
into the
drum
computer
roll.
and like hook up the MIDI or like the sound output to my audio interface and then like get it directly inserted into
Do you think you could do that
our
before
audiences.
Aspi joins? That would be so impressive. if
Depends
you were
how
able
long.
to
I
do
mean,
that would be impressive.
maybe, but I really don't think that that would be very professional of me. You know, I've already had my dog
you
bark on
haven't done it.
broadcast. I don't think that we need. Oh yeah, thank God, Aspi's back.
Now, Sasha's
Thank you,
a
Aspi.
welcome- Sasha
Bailing
is a
me out of that
welcome
one.
addition to the broadcast, I think.
Yeah, just a nice reminder when we're yapping too much that Sasha will get in there and yap at us as well.
Oh god. Alright, here we go. Knock Knock, having previously won their last defense, down inside of Dining and Kitchen, are going to send us up into the top floor instead. Looking like, once again, leaning into the castle type stuff that was going on in the last round, which actually worked out quite well for them. It meant that Bleed had to funnel their way straight in through the map because they weren't really willing to take down those castle barricades remotely. And it flooded them straight into a load of mirror windows, which worked out very well. So I think for Knock Knock, you know, leaning into what they've got, strategy it's going for them, and if Bleed don't respect that too much, then it might work.
5 seconds to insertion.
True. But Bleed did win on this bomb site last time, so Bleed won their first attack round and it was on here to Master Office. If he's going for another spawn peak, we saw it successful for him prior. Probably a good idea, I guess. Like at this point, Knock Knock playing aggressive has seemed to work like 51% of the time. So I think, you know, take those odds. It's a bit of a peek again. He really wants to commit to it, but I don't think Bleed is particularly interested.
Turd looking like he wanted to entry into library initially, might have a rethink about that. It's looking like Hoven's having to think about targeting someone on the bomb site maybe, or on the top floor at least, and seeing if they can try and collect these kills off the cutoff. Oh no, he's down below actually. This could be an interesting spot for Deimos to be in, especially with the pings going both ways. Nevertheless, he thinks the better of it in fact, and isn't going to target anyone just yet. Still waiting for the info to come out.
Be a very cheeky play. Be this Deimos from below. I've seen it work. That pistol does a lot of destruction. Especially if Bleed pair that with players on windows and on positions. If they open up these castle barricades, maximize as many lines of sights are available. They can use this Deimos to flush players around and find some good picks.
This could be great if they manage to get it on the... Oh, hang on a moment. There is a player inside of... How has this happened? Okay, nevertheless, okay. They've spotted him out, which is okay. Excellent news on the side of Bleed. But what I was going to say is this could be interesting if maybe they can get it on the player like inside of... Yeah, inside a closet. That's exactly what I was thinking of. That player's really stuck in this spot. So, you know, Asfi off the back of that. Is going to find a pick elsewhere, though. That's onto the smoke. Jittery, that's pretty brave. Out onto the window, looking for the peek onto the balcony, but there's Aspi actually watching him directly contesting, and that's now a pretty heavy numbers advantage for Bleed.
Another aggressive peak for Sandy in a 1 versus 5 to save the game. Let's see what he can muster. Absolutely nothing. A flawless round to close it. It was not quite a flawless game for Bleed, but a win is a win. The full 3 points up on the board for the top dogs of Asia. Undefeated thus far. 4 play days in, continuing their perfect form.
Yeah, solid one for Bleed there. They have broken, what is it, the 7-4 curse that they've got. They're actually winning things 1 round better than that, which is pretty excellent for them. So yeah, Bleed continuing pretty dominant form through the Asia League, and it doesn't look like anything is going to stop them from now.
True. 7-4 over Hasib's Warriors, 7-4 over Fury, 7-4 over Direwolves, and now 7-3 over Knock. Knock is a great way to start off their stage. Obviously, the full 12, sorry, I can math. Full 12 points out of their first 4 play days, and nobody can catch them right now. Keep in mind that Bleed actually do still have a couple of tough games to go. The big one was getting a win over Fury, but also just farming points and as many round difference as you can against teams like Knock Knock. So another expected result, but one that I'm sure Bleed will be happy with, as will the guys on the desk.
Yes, happy indeed. Although, I mean, there's something to be said here, guys. I feel like couple of 7-4s, a 7-3. I definitely expected this one to be over a little earlier than it was. Granted, you know, a bit of an ASFI mishap, but you know, it does show that Bleed do have weaknesses. As much as they may be very minimal, it is still possible to make the Giants bleed.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, ultimately, I feel like it doesn't detract from Bleed as much as it actually is an addition. Obviously to Knock Knock in this instance, as we mentioned in the pre-show, the head-to-head round differential being the first of the tiebreakers this year means that that potential 6th position could come down to round differential if the points stay the same as they are, which could potentially happen. It is unlikely, but there is a world in which it comes down to that. So the fact that Knock Knock were able to get some rounds in this matchup, great for them. Bleed aren't obviously going to care all that much. Ultimately, they get the result over the line. They bring things like the Deimos late round and just stomp them. So obviously there were some tech issues or whatever which plagued them and probably didn't help, but didn't really matter in the end.
No, well, we get to hear it directly from ASFI, so let's welcome him in for the broadcast. ASFI, hey. Lovely to see you again, my friend. I'm gonna ask the most obvious question to start with. What happened? PC crash?
I like to play with my room hot, so I like to close the windows and turn off the AC. And I think my PC couldn't handle it, so it just kept turning off.
Oh,
overheating.
That's disgusting. I don't know if I want to ask another question after that one. I'll tell you what. But look, obviously a good start for you and the boys. How's it feeling at the moment in the camp?
It's pretty good. You know, we're doing outside of the tournaments. Obviously, we're just practice as usual. The games recently been really good against Direwolves and Fury. Really fun. Yeah, and today is just another one of those days.
Actually, I just kind of want your own personal thoughts going up against. I think you've played both of the South Asia teams now. Of course, back on Playday 1, you played Hasib Warriors. They started really well in that game. Knock Knock able to get a couple of rounds against you guys as well. Just where do you kind of view these teams? The general consensus is both of them look like they might be bottom 2. Do you think the gap really is that big, though, to the other Southeast Asian teams?
I think that the gap certainly is there. I think that those teams don't really have the same kind of environment to perform at. So they're not really practicing against the same teams. I don't think they have a very tough schedule, same like the upper tier C's teams. So I guess you could say that's the reason for the skill gap disparity.
We've been talking quite a bit about Reaps throughout the stage. Obviously had another good game today. Everyone knows that he's got the crazy sense and the mechanics and all that, but what's it actually like to be in the server with Reaps? What does he offer to the team?
Basically, he'll go somewhere and then he won't say anything, and then he's gonna either die instantly or and then he's gonna
get 3 kills. Yeah.
Kind of sounds like Jake Xenox did he? Look, Asi, I've got to ask you. Clearly, we're leaps and bounds ahead in the Southeast Asian region and the South Asian region as a team, as a uniform. You know, you guys are looking really good at the moment. I know this might seem like a really basic question, but I really want to know from your perspective, what are you looking to get out of the best of one stage? Because very clearly you're going to go through to the playoffs. I think this result's absolutely locked it in. Then it's about first or second seed, but what are you looking for outside of that?
Okay, so for the group stage, these BO1s have been serving as some nice warm-up. As you know, there's not really that many tournaments going on in Southeast Asia. So these BO1s are kind of a very serious scrim. They give us obviously the game day environment. So good to warm up on that. And outside of that, it's just regular practice for the incoming playoffs.
Yeah. Well, that keeps it nice and simple. I know it was a simple. What's the answer to that? I think it's stupid games win stupid prizes. Asfi, do you have anything you'd like to say before we let you go?
Hope my PC doesn't crash next week.
We can all hope, mate. We can all hope. We only want to see you on the server. Take care.
All right, thanks.
And that's the way the cookie crumbles.
That's unbelievable.
Jake?
Honestly, there should be a maximum temperature rule in a player's room, because if his PC crashes, it screws everyone over. So I don't know why he's playing in a hot environment. That's the most ridiculous thing I have ever heard in my life. I don't know how that is comfortable. Like, I'm blasting the fan. I'm trying to keep it cool. I don't know why you would want it hot, especially in Southeast Asia with the humidity.
I know.
It would be horrible.
It's already so hot. Jake, could you imagine me in that room? That would
be the swamp.
I honestly don't think I could. No,
that would
be more than just the PC crashing.
It would be a lot more than the PC crashing. I don't think it would become a biohazard danger. I'll tell you that much. But Jake, look, again, it's hard to really, take too many negatives away from Bleed's performances. Doesn't make a difference where they are. They continue to put up individual performances that are really star worthy, but also they seem like on their player cams they are enjoying every game they play right now.
Yeah, and look, I mean, you could look at their opponent when we kind of talk about the round differential, but this is actually their best result this tournament, like this entire stage. Every other game has gone 7-4 minimum, so this has actually been their easiest win. And I think it would have been even easier had there not been technical difficulties. So I think that's pretty plain and simple. Keanu Reeves returning to his absolute best. I mean, for me, has he been at his best this tournament? I don't think so. In fact, coming into today, Xenox fun fact, low light for Reeps, but no longer. He was the lowest rated player on the team, which is just actually quite staggering. And his cost was in the red, which is really bizarre. Goes and drops 15 and 5, massive numbers, and all these red numbers are now green, and he's now probably the top rated player. But a big turnaround for him individually. And you're going to need Reeps fit and firing if you're going to get that get that Manchester spot when it's all said and done in the playoffs. Otherwise, if he's not performing at his best and the others are not quite performing at their best, they are still a vulnerable team. We know how good Bleed are, and they go into any matchup as the favorites in this region. But you're 10-15% off against maybe a Fury team that's 10-15% above, and we go back to 23 stage 1, and there's the result.
Ooh. Yeah. Jeez. Sometimes he
that's pretty up old scars. Jeez.
It just sometimes it takes.
You are the number one Bleed hater right now, Xenox. It's pretty unprofessional.
Why am I the number one Bleed hater? I mean, to be fair, if I'm the number one Bleed hater, you're like the numbers, ground zero Nova hater. So
hey, we're not in South Korea tonight. You can pocket that for tomorrow.
Tomorrow night.
Yeah. we'll keep that in the back pocket. We don't have to wait any longer for our final matchup of the night. We're going to go to a short break, and on the other side, Jolita play Hesed Warriors.